Imagine taking a modern human, you, me, anyone, and dropping them right smack in the middle of the Stone Age. No smartphones, no internet, no electricity, and obviously no supermarkets. Now your first thought is probably, I wouldn't last a day. But here is the wild part. Your brain, it would actually feel strangely at home. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to dig into the fascinating reason why your brain feels so completely, utterly exhausted by modern life. And we'll do it by looking right under the hood at its ancient wiring.
So why does modern life feel so incredibly exhausting? It's a simple question, right? But man, we all ask it. Why are we always on the edge of burnout? Why do we procrastinate when we literally know better? We've all been there, just sitting at a desk, staring at a screen, feeling totally drained. Well, the answer is sitting right inside your skull. See, even though we live in the 21st century with all this mind-blowing tech, your brain is fundamentally running on ancient hardware. It was built for hunters and gatherers, a world where your daily to-do list was literally just find food, don't get eaten, and don't get kicked out of the tribe.
To really get to the bottom of this daily exhaustion, we need to look at the massive gap between the life or death world our brains were designed for and the highly structured, predictable world we navigate today. Think about it for a second. For practically all of human history, life was incredibly dangerous. No hospitals, no police, zero safety nets. So evolution optimized our brains for one thing and one thing only: staying alive long enough to reproduce. It wasn't built for happiness, it wasn't wired for perfectly optimized productivity or climbing the corporate ladder, it was built 100% for pure survival.
When you map out the timeline, it is honestly staggering how new the modern world is. Our origins go back hundreds of thousands of years, yet agriculture? That only showed up around 12,000 years ago. Cities popped up maybe 5,000 years ago. And the internet is basically a newborn, just a few decades old. From an evolutionary standpoint, all these massive societal shifts happened in the blink of an eye. Our biological hardware simply hasn't had the time to catch up to skyscrapers, smartphones, and the absolute fire hose of information we process every single day.
Which brings us to the modern stress trap. It's essentially a massive hardware mismatch. Picture yourself walking through the wilderness, say 20,000 years ago. Suddenly, rustling in the bushes. Predator? Maybe. Immediately, without a single conscious thought, your body shifts into overdrive. Your heart rate spikes, adrenaline floods your system, your muscles tense up. This is your fight-or-flight system. It's an evolutionary alarm bell, optimized for very short, extremely rare bursts of immediate physical danger. And honestly, it's a system that saved our ancestors' lives over and over again. But jump to today. What are our threats? Unread emails, utility bills, looming deadlines, rush hour traffic, the pressure to fit in. None of these are going to physically harm us, right? But our ancient software doesn't know that. It gets pinged by these non-lethal threats constantly. We end up in this state of continuous, grinding stress because, to your brain, a late-night work notification is treated with the exact same urgency as a leaping, saber-toothed tiger. We're running on high alert in a world that never, ever stops pulling the alarm. And this mismatch completely explains why we do the things we do. Ever wonder why saying no to junk food feels practically impossible, even when you're trying so hard to eat healthy? Well, back in the Stone Age, calories were never guaranteed. Sugar was super rare but gave you vital, life-saving energy. So evolution heavily rewarded people who craved it. Fast forward to today, sugar is absolutely everywhere. But your brain, it still thinks a famine is right around the corner. It's actively prioritizing that quick energy to survive. You're running software built for extreme scarcity right in the middle of a world of endless abundance.
And here is a huge takeaway. Procrastination is not a character flaw. So many of us beat ourselves up thinking we're just lazy or lacking willpower. Actually, scratch that. It's just your ancient survival instinct prioritizing an immediate reward over a distant, abstract goal. Think about it. If a bear showed up, our ancestors couldn't exactly say, I'll schedule this for next Thursday. The brain evolved to focus purely on the now. So yeah, watching a funny video right now naturally feels way more appealing to your ancient brain than grinding away at a career goal that won't pay off for another 5 years.
Let's shift gears and look at the digital tribe and how our social instincts play out online.
There is a magic number when it comes to human behavior: 150. We evolved in small, tightly knit tribes that rarely got bigger than 150 people. In a group that small, your social reputation was literally everything. If you got rejected by the tribe, you lost access to food, shelter, and protection. Social rejection wasn't just, having to eat lunch alone. It almost certainly meant death by starvation or exposure.
Now, put those ancestral tribe limits up against modern social media.
It suddenly makes total sense why every single like, comment, or new follower packs such a massive emotional punch. We aren't just managing our reputation with a few dozen people around a campfire anymore, we're exposed to the opinions of literally millions of people online. Because of our hardwiring, your brain treats digital approval like a literal life or death survival metric. That carefully engineered dopamine loop keeping billions glued to their screens, that's the exact same survival mechanism that kept our ancestors alive and accepted.
It's also the exact same ancient wiring behind stage fright. Honestly, a lot of people are more terrified of public speaking than actual physical danger. Sounds totally irrational, right? Until you view it through the lens of evolution. When you're standing up there, all those eyes on you, your brain isn't just worried about you stumbling over your words. It genuinely fears that losing status in front of the tribe will leave you cast out and unprotected. That intense fear gripping your chest, it isn't modern at all. It is incredibly ancient. Moving into the third part, identifying your triggers and some practical strategies to actually deal with them.
Okay, so how do we actually handle this? Because just knowing the why isn't enough. We need a game plan. Luckily, we have a real superpower that other animals don't: self-awareness. We can actively use this to examine our instincts rather than just blindly acting on them. It's a three-step framework. Step 1, clearly identify the trigger. Step 2, recognize the ancient programming operating behind the scenes. And Step 3, apply your self-awareness to consciously manage your response before you go spiraling.
It all kicks off with one incredibly powerful question. Next time you feel your pulse racing over an intense email or you feel that road rage bubbling up in traffic, just hit pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, is this a real threat or an imagined one? Just by forcing that tiny moment of reflection, you can instantly short-circuit that fight-or-flight response. You begin to actively untangle the actual physical dangers from the regular, everyday annoyances of modern life.
Mapping these modern triggers back to their ancient roots strips away so much of their power over you. Think about it like this. When you get hit with a crazy craving for junk food, realize it's just your brain's fear of scarcity. But the modern reality? You're surrounded by endless abundance. What about social media anxiety? That's just your ancient need for tribe acceptance acting up in front of an infinite audience that poses zero physical threat to you. Stressed over a deadline? That's just the old predator evasion instinct kicking in. In reality, you're perfectly safe, just momentarily inconvenienced. Once you see the pattern, it changes the whole game.
Finally, let's talk about outsmarting those instincts and navigating our modern world.
Now, I want to be really clear. The goal of this explainer is definitely not to fix a broken brain. Because your brain isn't broken. It's actually doing exactly what it evolved to do, and it's doing a fantastic job of it. The real goal here is empowerment. It's about deeply understanding that original programming so you can move through the modern world a lot more consciously. Look, you can't erase millions of years of hardwired evolution, but you absolutely can learn to work with it, instead of fighting a losing battle against it every single day.
There's this fantastic line from the source material that sums it all up perfectly, and it's a great reminder to give ourselves a little grace when we stumble. Beneath modern civilization, there's still an ancient human mind trying its best to survive. That's really it, isn't it? When you're feeling totally crushed by your inbox or your newsfeed, just remember that underneath all the flashy tech and concrete cities, there's an ancient human mind just trying its absolute best to keep you safe. I'm going to leave you with one final question to chew on today. The next time you find yourself impulsively checking your phone, endlessly delaying a project, or raiding the pantry for a sugary snack, ask yourself, are you running the software, or is the software running you? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Hopefully you're walking away feeling a bit more equipped to handle this crazy modern world with your amazing ancient hardware.